This is Modern Photo Solutions, helping you find modern solutions for life's photographic journey. Taking you from photo overwhelm to photo fabulous in just a few taps. Your story matters. It's time to start telling it. Hey everyone, welcome to Modern Photo Solutions. I'm Steph Clay, and I am joined today by Sara Wells, who is an author, blogger, and recipe developer with her friend Kate at ourbestbites.com. Sara and Kate are on a mission to help us all cook great food and make memories with our families. And I know that my family has had a lot of really great memories with our Best Bites recipes as a centerpiece. They also have authored several cookbooks, which include a lot of my favorite recipes. And they also recently started our Best Bites Fit Club in 2015, where Sara shares her journey to lose 50 pounds and be more fit and healthy. And it's all just so inspiring. Thank you for being here, Sara.
I'm happy to be here. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, tell us just a little bit about your weight loss journey, because I know it's something that a lot of our listeners will find inspiring and love hearing about.
Yeah, sure. Several years ago, I had after my third baby and years of constant kind of up and down, just like everyone, struggles with. I kind of just got sick of dealing with it, and I hired a trainer to help me out and finally, I felt like I was really successful for the first time. I lost 50 pounds. I was really fit. I was just happy and healthy, and I'm always a little hesitant to share, certain things out, and a lot of my life is public on the internet, and some things I hold a little closer. And I think you have to have a certain level of transparency to be successful as, a blogger, a personality like that. But it's not something I ever talked about, and I kind of felt like I needed to share that story though, because I had a feeling other people, could relate to it, and I did, and it was just kind of went viral. It was this huge success, and I found that that there were so many people that were inspired by my story, which I didn't even expect really, and it formed this neat community within our readership of people who wanted to be fit and healthy, wanted to kind of battle some things that had been challenging them, but wanted to do it, eating real food. And in the fitness industry, it's you get this impression that sometimes, all or nothing. And so I think that's why it was such a success on our blog, and my story is because I'm all about balance and fitting those things into your life and eating real food and feeding your family in a good way where you can still be healthy. And so that's kind of how it all started and took off, and it's still going strong today.
Yeah, you have a great community over there. If people want to check it out, they can find it by going to ourbestbites.com/fit-club.
Yeah.
And they can find all of your information as well as your story there.
Yeah, it's all there.
That's really great. Okay, now to jump into why you're here. I'm so excited. You are also a passionate personal storyteller, and it's a journey that you've been on really your whole life.
Yeah, absolutely.
And you had some things that happened in your family that probably really had a profound effect on creating this passion for documenting that you have. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
Yeah, well, I have always been, a documenter. Ever since I was a kid, I loved hoarding things, my mother would say, but I call it collecting. And I always I loved little snips of paper and little ticket stubs and just, these little tangible things that kind of just created, memory and nostalgia. And I was always making photo books and scrapbooks. And, as the years go on, the way in which you do that changes. But I've got, diaries and journals and scrapbooks for my whole life. And I think some people are kind of naturally inclined to be, memory keepers like that, and so I just always have been. And yeah, I have done that since I was a kid, and then as I started, having my own family and preserving my own memories, I've found different ways to do that, and yeah, I think, and you touched on my story is definitely impacted by my life story, my relationship with my mom, who I lost recently, but her, when you kind of come into adulthood and start knowing your parents as an adult instead of as a kid yourself, there's that interesting kind of relationship, I guess. And my mom became really sick right about that time in my life. And I found that as soon as I was kind of becoming an adult and wanted to know all these things. Like I was having kids and I wondered like, well, what was I like as a kid? Did I do this? What did I like to play with? And how did she feel about this? And I couldn't really ask her. She suffered from a brain injury and dementia. And that's when I started really clinging on to things, and it really influenced for me at a young age, and in a young age in my family, young kids, um, it's kind of molded where I wanted to go with my memory keeping, because I think like, what are the things that I want people to know about me and about my family, and the things that I wish I knew. Do you know what I mean, about my childhood and my mom? And so I really have been passionate about it as a young mother, really from that perspective, and that's influenced me a lot.
I love that perspective because I think so often it's easy to say, well, I'll have more time when my kids get older, and so I'll
Yes.
document it then.
Yeah, yeah. And it gets more overwhelming as your kids get older and you realize, you can't, it's harder to go backwards a little bit and try to remember those things. So yeah, for sure.
Yeah. You've had a lot of different solutions that you've been successful with throughout the years. Can you tell us a little bit about the evolution that you've gone through?
Yeah. Back in the day, I was clipping things and gluing and pasting into page protectors and, stuff like that. When my kids were young, so probably like I can't even think of years right now, but early 2000s or something. That was when I first started getting into digital scrapbooking, which is kind of the path that led me to kind of where I am now at this point. But that was back when you had downloaded like digital scrapbooking kits with like little elements and papers, and then put them all together in Photoshop, and kind of when digital cameras became big. So I did a lot of that when my kids were younger. And when I had, less kids, and I actually have these grandiose scrapbooks for each one of them. And that certainly changed. And I didn't have, a job or a business that I'm running. And so that was like
Yes.
my one thing. Like I stayed home with my babies and I scrapbooked. And so, and so life has changed, since. And so I guess my process, I am constantly looking for what's going to make it, more efficient, and easier, and less time consuming on my end, because I feel like that's what's overwhelming to people, especially mothers who feel, I think there's a lot of guilt. You feel like you should be documenting your children's lives, and but who has time to be getting out supplies, and it feels like this big overwhelming process. And so all the little things that help me do it quickly and efficiently are really like my best friends. So I have gone through this process, now, right now, today. It's always changing, but I love, obviously, Project Life, which I'm sure we'll talk about, and then chat books, all these things that make it quick and easy, that you can use, your phone, whatever fits into your life. Everyone's different, but those are things that have really been helping me lately.
That's so good. Tell me a little bit about, because I know you are using both the Project Life app.
Yeah.
You did Project Physical Project Life for a little while as well, right?
Yeah, yeah.
And
I can.
then
Oh, go ahead.
no, and then you use the Collect app too.
Huh. Yep. I haven't been using that as much lately. Ever since the Project Life app came out, I kind of use that more. But yeah, I did use that for a while as well.
Okay, so tell us a little bit about, you're using Chatbooks and the Project Life app. What do you use? Do you have specific things that you use each for?
Yeah. So I use Chatbooks. I feel is like it's almost like my backup scrapbooking. I feel like if nothing happens, like that'll happen because I have it connected to my Instagram, my personal Instagram account, where so I know I'm posting, just the little things in our lives that are happening there, and things going on with my kids. And I love that it's automatic. I don't have to think about it. It happens. It's like little elves are just kind of, documenting my life for me and mailing it to me. And so I feel like if nothing else like that, I have that. So that's good. And then Project Life is where I have to physically go take the time to do it, but it's easy and it's very doable, and I do a lot of kind of the extra stuff on that, more than just a photo here and there that I'm posting on Instagram, but just telling the story of our lives, and preserving all those like everyday things.
They're being preserved in both places. Your everyday things are being,
Yeah, yeah.
you do in both places.
Yeah, and I don't replicate a lot. I mean, on Instagram, my chat books just have, one photo here and there. And then sometimes I'll take that same photo and I'll make an entire page with more information, and, document a little more of the story in Project Life.
Okay, that's really good to know. So the chat books are kind of the Cliff Notes version
Yeah, exactly.
of
Yeah.
your life, and then your Project Life albums are more. What you do in the app is the bigger story.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah.
Okay, what does your workflow look like when do you keep well, let me ask this first. Do you keep all of your photos on your phone? Are you moving them? And what are you using for backup and storage, I guess?
So, and I still feel like I'm figuring all of this out, like the best method. I used to, so what I used to do when the app first came out, which was fantastic, kind of life changing for me, because I had been, I love, taking photos on my big DSLR camera. And so I would kind of, I keep all of my photos very organized on an external hard drive. All of my photos that come from, I call it my big camera. On my computer, I organize them by year, by month, by event. I'm really particular about that. In fact, that's when I first got it started in Project Life, which was I don't know, maybe 5 years ago or something. That's the first thing I did. I was really overwhelmed, and I'm like, okay, I can't do anything until I like clean house. And so I went through years and years and years of photographs, and I organized them by year, and then by month, and then by event. So I had everything just kind of ready to go in these organized folders, and I've kept that up, and that's made scrapbooking so much easier for me. And I always tell people, like, if you really want to keep up with this and make it your workflow easier, like, organize your photos and keep them organized. So I'm great about that on my computer. And then my phone photos, that's another story. I'm still trying to figure out what works best. But when I first started using the app, what I would do is I would do physical Project Life with my big camera, nice photos. I'd print them out and kind of do that. And then I'd do the app just with my cell phone photos. And so I kind of have a little bit of both. And nowadays, the app has been so useful to me. I'm doing almost most of it, I would say, on the app. And so I sometimes drop my photos from my big camera into Dropbox or something, so I can pop them into the app. But I don't know. I feel like my cell phone photos are kind of a disaster. I need to catch up on your previous podcast because I know you've talked about this.
Yeah, you can jump over and take my free class.
Yes, I'm going to. I'm serious. It's been on my little to-do list, so I need that. But yeah.
Yes, it'll change your life. I mean, I hate to sound over dramatic.
No, I understand how things like that can be life changing. So I need to. I'm excited to learn more about that.
Yeah, it's right up there. Google Photos, finding Google Photos for me and figuring out everything that it does is right up there with the Project Life app.
Awesome.
The Project Life app being released was really seriously, just like you said, life changing for me. And I think Google Photos is right there with it for me.
Oh, awesome. That says a lot. Yeah. I'm going to check it out.
Yeah, I can't wait for you because I know you're going to be excited about it and you'll love it.
Yeah.
Yeah. So what does your workflow look like when you're creating a layout in Project Life? Do you have a system that you go through, steps that you always go through, or?
I don't know that I have I mean, it's so easy. I feel like I usually, I start out anything that I've taken several photos, for I create a page for usually. And so I usually just start with the photos that I love, and I pop those in, whether I want to, if it's an amazing photo and I want it really big on the page or whatnot. And then, and then I fill in with my journaling, and then anything that's kind of left over, I put in like kind of the cute, cards and decorations. And my pages are usually very heavy on the photos. And a little journaling, and less on anything, the froofy stuff, which I'm sad because Project Life has so many cute, like, decorative cards, and I don't get to use them that much because I'm always wanting to stuff as many photos in there as I can. But that's kind of, what I do. And then I think their app, the printing service on the app is awesome. I love it. I think the quality is amazing, and it's so easy to just click a button and have them, sent. And the credit card, like, section, that's really easy too, which seems like a dumb thing, but I feel like a lot of like checkouts online, like, are just annoying. You have to go through this big process, and I love that it's just like, here you go, card number, date, purchase, done. So what I do is I usually I just print photos or print my pages out once every few months, really, and I do just a ton at a time, like maybe every 3 months or something, and I'll just wait till I have a big old stack of them and then have them sent.
So as you're finishing a page, you're adding it to your print order, right? Or do you go and add them all at once?
I add them all at once. Maybe. Gosh, can you do it one at a time? Will it save it? If so, I should do that. It takes a long time for me to upload all mine.
Well, it saves it unless something were to happen to your phone.
Yeah,
and then I don't know if it would save it or not. I haven't tested that.
Yes, yeah, I usually just go in all at once and do it. And every time I finish a page, I also save it in my Google Drive, so I have a backup. Um, because one time I did have to like wipe my phone, it wasn't backed up, and I lost a bunch of pages, and I like literally cried real tears over it. So I'm very good about backing up my pages now, so that I have those too.
And you're exporting the editable and the regular, the JPEGs too, or
You
just
know,
the JPEGs?
usually I just do the JPEGs. I started doing the editables, and I literally never reopen them again, and so I just do the JPEGs now.
Yeah, I've been going through the same thing because I didn't export the editables, and then one time I
Yeah.
had a spelling mistake, so then I
Yes.
started
Yes.
exporting them, and then I've never got in there again. So
Exactly.
it's
Yeah,
a
I did the exact
dilemma.
same thing. Yeah, I know it.
I feel like you are a really good example of kind of a lot of moms. I think a lot of moms can relate to you because there are a lot of moms that have kids and they're, volunteering and running a business or working and just trying and just doing a lot of things and really
Yeah.
trying to be the best that they can. How do you find the time to fit this in?
People say to me all the time, like, "Oh, that's awesome that you do that. I don't have time for that." And
Yes.
not to sound full of myself, but I'm like, let me just give you a peek into my life. Like, if you don't think you have time, like, if I can do it, anybody can do it. And it comes down to like, is that a priority for you? Is it something that you care about? And everybody's, values are different. Everybody cares about different things. Lots of people do things that I don't do and that I maybe say I don't have time for. But I will say this, if people want to do this, I don't care how busy you are, you can make time. And that's the great thing about that's why I love the Project Life app is that I can do it. I mean, I whip out a page when I'm driving in the car I'm a passenger in the car. When my husband's driving. Let's make that clear. But he's always
Yes.
like, "You never talk to me in the car." I'm like, "It's because I'm getting stuff done." So, when we are, driving around doing errands, I can just pop out a page really quick. When I am laying in bed at night, before you go to bed, take 5 minutes, make a page for, something that happened that day. If you just do, one just every here and there, you'll have a whole book full of, pages. Like it's so easy. You just have to start doing it. And that's what I love about it is that people are always holding their phones. Always think about all the time that you spend just scrolling social media every day. You could take 5 of those minutes and you could have a scrapbook page. It's something that everyone can fit in if you really want to. And I think that's the key is just doing a little bit at a time, a little bit every day or every week. There was one point in my life where Sundays was like my day, and I would just catch up on Sundays when I had some downtime. That's kind of a relaxing day at our house, and I'd just catch up on everything that happened the week before, make a few pages, and call it good. So I think you can definitely fit it in if you want to.
I totally agree. Amen to everything you just said.
Yeah.
Yeah. Do you do it all? Do you use Project Life where you do it, a week at a time and your title card is week 30,
No,
whatever, all of that?
I don't.
I don't either
Yeah.
that much. I have thought about going back and starting to do some of that a little bit here and there, but I don't know if I'm going to do it yet. I haven't committed.
Yeah, I feel like it's a big commitment. I'm like, what if I can't do like week 1, 2, 3 and then jump to 37. And I feel like that's what would happen if I did that. I don't know. I mean, I do it all the time. So, but it seems like a lot of pressure. I'm not sure. I go in
It's just,
spurts for sure. Like sometimes I don't do it for a while and then I just get on and I just go through all my phone photos and I just, whip out a whole bunch of pages all at once. So I don't know.
I totally get it. Have a little bit more downtime.
Yeah.
Yeah, but it really is, like you said, it really is easy to do it a little bit here and there. And the times when I've done that, just when I have a few minutes here and there, I've always been shocked at how much I can get done.
Done, right? Yeah. You can
Yeah.
like whip out so many pages. Yeah. And you feel so like I feel like it's something that gives you a lot of like personal pats on the back. Like I feel good when I get a bunch of pages done and I feel like, hey, look what I did. I just scrapbooked, a month of my life. Like that's a good feeling to know that you kind of got that done and finished and documented. And I like that. I like feeling like I don't know. It's a little thing you can do to feel like you accomplished a lot.
It's the truth. It's the truth. Tell me about a time when you thought to yourself, this is why I do this. This is why I document.
Oh gosh, I have feelings like that all the time. I mean, every time I flip through one of my old books, like it, you think anyone who's got, kids, growing kids, like time passes so fast, right? And even just going through my Project Life albums from just a few years ago, and I look at some of the things that I've written down that seemed so normal at the time, like I'll always remember this, like I had forgotten, just like little things about my kids, funny things that they say or do. And I say to myself all the time, like, oh, I'm so glad I wrote that down. I would not have remembered that. Like, remember when that happened? That was so funny, or whatever. And so that's one of the things I love about it. I'm very big on documenting just, I mean, it's called Project Life, right? The story of your life is not, all Christmases and birthdays and family vacations. It's the everyday. And that's like what the core of my like passion about documenting my life and my family's life is, that it's like people are often more apt to go, make a photo book for a fun vacation they've been on or a birthday or something. And those are the things you'll probably, and that's great. I do that too, but those are the things you'll probably remember anyway. Like when it comes down to it, when you're remembering your life and what's important, it's all of these like little moments, and those are the ones that are so important to me. And I, going back to my mom, that's what I realized too. Like, when I started kind of searching for pieces of my story, that it was almost like this little treasure hunt. And when I would find things like, I'd go through our photo. My mom was a notorious, like, one day I'm going to scrapbook all these one day. And we still have, the shoe boxes full of photos, nothing done with them. But, it was the pictures where, I found a picture of her reading me a book that I'm sure my dad just kind of slipped around the corner and took without her knowing, or finding little tangible pieces of our lives. Like I found a Post-it note like with her grocery list on it, and I just like totally broke down and cried. And that seems so silly, but it's like, oh, it's like her handwriting and this little, and it was such a part of my life because that was my job. Like I always held the Post-it note when we went to the grocery store when I was little.
Oh,
And
cute.
so, those little things, I'm very big about including those little memories and those little things. And that's one of the reasons I like combining digital Project Life with the physical, is because I really like just slipping in just little tangible pieces of your story, whether it's a grocery list or a ticket stub or a silly little, like a little paper my kid maybe wrote something that was funny in their little handwriting, having all of those things, like as to me as an adult and as someone who experienced, that in my life and losing somebody, those are the things that were most important to me. And so I'm really passionate about remembering to preserve just the everyday kind of seemingly mundane things. Like in the end, those are the details that kind of form your life story. And those are the things that you're going to want to remember.
I totally agree. Those are the things that we often don't realize how important they are and how monumental they actually can be.
Yeah.
To our story.
Yeah.
Tell me a little bit about how you're combining the physical Project Life with digital, what your albums look like.
Yeah, they're kind of a hodgepodge. I have pictures of, and it kind of changes kind of year to year or depending on kind of what phase of life I'm in. Like right now I have tons and tons of digital pages, but usually I have, it's just kind of mixed in. I just, every few pages are, digital, and then I throw in a physical page, a page with a little envelope maybe that's got some, little, I keep wanting to say a word that's not in English, like, it's not, I speak another language, and sometimes there's words that I only know in the other language. Anyway,
like ephemera and mementos and
yes, mementos. That's what I was looking for. Little mementos. Slip those in. I love having my kids fill out cards, like if it's their birthday or something, or I'm writing about them. A lot of times I'll give them a card and say, hey, why don't you write down, what happened when we took this picture, or write down your 5 favorite TV shows right now, or what's your favorite toys to play with. I do a page usually on all their birthdays where I do like kind of favorite things, like, and I have them do it, what are your favorite TV shows? What's your favorite foods right now? Who are your best friends right now? And so I love having my kids' handwriting in there and all their little notes, and I think it's really fun. So I mix it up. I do both types of pages, and I like that.
I think it's a great idea for those of us that want to keep some of those little things, and maybe even just keep a page protector with pockets in it in the back of the album to throw stuff in there.
Yeah, absolutely. And you can take pictures. Sometimes I take pictures of my kids, artwork, or I'll take a photo of something they've written or whatever. But I don't know. There's something about having like the real deal in there that I really love.
Yeah. So share with me a little bit. where you draw the line and how maybe you document some of the hard stuff in life. Are you including some of the challenges and difficult things too?
That's a good thought. I should probably do more of that, to be honest. I did start, yeah, I am pretty good about, as a parent, sometimes you just have to laugh about stuff. And so I totally have photos in my albums of like my kids in the middle of tantrums or, I think it's really easy to look at photos and when you're documenting your story, like you see the good, right? It's like when someone passes away, like everything everybody says is amazing, right? When really everyone has faults. So, in the same vein, sometimes there'll be a picture, like this, I finally got the perfect pictures of my kids and I'll pop it in there and it'd be very easy to write, whatever, beautiful family picture on this lovely day. And I am pretty good about writing, like, we set out to take a beautiful picture on this family day and it was horrible. And here's all the reasons why. Jack threw a tantrum. Gavin spilled, soda all over himself. Tyler refused to wear shoes. And like, those are funny. When you look back on them, I find that like, that's real life. And so I do try to include stuff like that. And with all the happy memories, just kind of remember all the funny stuff that happened too. And, and then, yeah, I think it is good to write about, maybe more challenging things. Yeah, now that you're making me feel kind of retrospective about this, I'm like, do I do that? But yeah, I think that's important too, for sure. Again, that's like the full story of your life, and I want my albums. I mean, I do them as a legacy to my family. That's something I want to pass on. I want them to have, and those are important things to know too. I found, things from my mom too, where I have found kind of letters or things like that where she's talked about things she struggled with, and those are like so meaningful to me, and they help me to kind of learn from and deal with things in my own life. And so I think that's important that, one day my kids are able to see that as well, for sure.
Yeah, I think so too. It's sometimes difficult to figure out what to include. I love that you include the real story behind the family photo because who hasn't got to get a family photo and had stories like that?
Totally.
Yeah, it looks great, but they didn't see the fighting and the arguing and the complaining about wearing whatever it is that.
Exactly. Yes.
All of that good stuff that it took to get to that one perfect photo. So I love that you're including all of that. That's real life, and it's important, and it is what makes up who we are. And that the kids are probably going to remember that anyway.
Yes.
So they need to know that you're not trying to put on this perfect
exactly.
Yes. Of something that your family really isn't.
Yeah, exactly.
It's so good. Did you document your weight loss journey?
I didn't. I didn't too much. It kind of was naturally documented, as like photos changed and stuff. And so I think I did do a page kind of at the. I mean, it's never a quote unquote end, but kind of at the end after I had kind of reached some milestones and put it in there. I don't know. There's something, and this is totally a personal thing, but there's something about documenting goals like that along the way that I think I have a fear, like, well, what if I don't finish it? Then this is stupid and it's going to look dumb. And like, I don't know.
I
and
totally
so sometimes
get that.
I just wait until I have, the end done. And then I can be like, oh, look what I did. But then that's a fault of mine. But I think it's a natural inclination to have a little bit of fear like that. That's like, I'm not the kind of person who announces on Instagram, hey, I'm going to work towards losing 50 pounds. Watch me do it. Because I'm like, well, maybe not watch. Maybe I won't do it. I don't know. I'm going to think about it. So, but yeah.
Yeah, no, I think that's really good. And it reminds me, a quote that I heard a while back, and it's kind of a new philosophy of mine because it's how I live, and I didn't realize I was living that way until I heard this quote, and I'm happy to share my scars, but not my open wounds.
Yes.
And that's kind of, no one wants to, I don't want to see anyone's open wounds either.
Yes.
I mean, my close friends who, I'm in it with them. Yes, I'll see their open wounds and I am there for them, but not everybody. I don't want to see everybody's open wounds.
Yeah, exactly. Some things are kind of personal anyway. Yeah. I love that quote. I have never heard that either. I love it. I'm going to steal that too.
Yeah. Yeah. So it's kind of how I live. And that's definitely, especially sometimes in documenting, I think sometimes that's the best way to go about documenting the hard things.
Yeah.
Really big
Yeah.
hard things. I think it's easier to go back and retrospectively look at it and show the wounds or show the scars, but not necessarily the wounds.
Yeah, absolutely. And at that point too, it's like if you've come out of it, you've got something to show for it. You probably learned something. I feel like the wounds are more meaningful once you have a scar.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
Yes.
It's not like you're just throwing your hot mess out there, but it's like, hey, look what I did. And yeah, exactly. And this is how I overcame, or this is how I dealt with it. And this is what I learned. And this is how it's affected my life. And now it's a part of my story. So yeah, that's a good thought.
And even though your weight loss journey isn't documented in Project Life or in a chat book, you have documented it on the blog. And so it is documented.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And in that same way, I was able to share my story in a way that was kind of organized and effective. And I'm like, hey, this is what I did, and this is what worked, and this is where I'm at now, and this is what I've learned. And I think that's why it was successful, is because I kind of was able to show the whole process at once.
Yeah. Which is, and it is really inspiring to be able to look at it that way. And yeah. Okay. I have a few rapid fire questions for you.
Okay.
iPhone or Android?
iPhone.
Which model?
6S Plus. Or as my family calls it, the laptop.
Yeah.
Because I have it in a giant case as well, because I broke in so many cases that, my husband's always like, hey, can I borrow your laptop? I mean your phone.
Around our house, we call those phablets.
Yes. I love it.
But you're liking the big size?
Yes. And you know what? I will say this. I got it specifically because I do so much, photo work on my phone and Project Life and things like that. And also, my work, my job and stuff.
Yeah.
I needed a bigger screen, has made actually so much easier to do that type of stuff. So it's totally worth it for me.
That is really good to hear, as I consider going to the bigger size.
I mean, it kind of sticks out of your pocket funny, but I love how easy it makes, to work on stuff.
Yeah. Mac or PC?
Both. I think I mentioned to you before, I have a PC desktop and then I have a MacBook, and I feel like I probably need to commit to one or both, because I really just feel confused on a Mac. But I think I'm kind of a PC at heart if I'm going to have to answer, for sure.
Yeah, I can relate to that. My journey into a Mac was a long and painful one.
Yes.
When I first got my Mac, this is a funny story that I tell people, and I think people don't believe me. I am super tech savvy. I really am.
Yes,
and,
I believe.
And stuff comes easy for me.
Yes.
I opened up my Mac when I got it. I was so excited. It shipped. I got it on my doorstep. I opened up the box, opened up the Mac. It started talking to me. My laptop did. It scared the crap out of me. I closed it, and I didn't open that thing up for almost a year after that.
I love it.
So I'm like, I just can't handle learning that right now. I'm not doing that.
That is how I felt. Oh my gosh. Yes, you and I had this experience as we were trying to, figure out the technicalities of this phone call. And I'm like, where's the button? I can't find the volume. I just feel dumb. And I am a very tech savvy person as well. So that's it hinders my confidence, I think.
I know. Yeah. So my journey, it was long. And I did the same thing. I went back and forth for a really long time. And then my PC died.
Oh, that'll do it.
And I was forced.
Just went for it. Yeah.
And I love it. And I won't go back again.
Yeah. That's what people tell me. So I don't know.
It was painful.
I've got a split life right now.
That's where I was for a very long time. What is your primary camera?
A Canon Mark III.
And is that what you use the most, or are you using your iPhone more?
Well, for Project Life these days, I am definitely using my iPhone more.
Okay. Because it's the one that's with you, right?
Yep. It's with me all the time,
Yep. And what is your method of transferring? We kind of talked about this, transferring photos off your phone.
I don't have a good method.
You're figuring that out. You're going to take the Google Photos class.
Yes, exactly. That's my method. Take your class.
Yeah. And then right now for your backup, did you mention what you're doing for backup?
I have everything on an external hard drive, and then we back up with Carbonite as well.
Okay, good. That's really good. And then your phone is iCloud, probably.
Probably. I don't know. It's a Mac, so what do I know?
Yeah, we'll get you there.
Yeah, okay, thanks.
It's all good. All right. Thank you so much, Sarah, for being here and sharing all of this wonderful inspiration. I know that people are going to really find it helpful and get some tips, and then also be really inspired by your story and your journey through. And this is a prime example of how it's an ongoing journey. It really is.
Yeah.
It's a lifelong photographic journey, and
Yeah.
and we're all on it together.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah.
Thanks for having me. It was fun to chat.
Yeah. Before I close, we got to remind everyone to find Sarah at ourbestbites.com. And then on social media, on Instagram, it's Sarah_bestbites or Best Bites Sarah.
Oh my gosh, you just pressed Sarah underscore our best bites. Yeah.
Yeah. And then, so everyone can find you on Instagram, and then on your website, go check out her journey. And then you also have posts on there about your photographic journey as well, and the different things that you've done. It's everything that anyone wants to know that we talked about today can probably be found on ourbestbites.com.
Yeah, probably.
Yeah, and if you haven't taken the Google Photos class, to our listeners, make sure you take it. Sarah will be right there with you.
Yes, I will.
Learning all of the very cool things that Google Photos does. It's free, and I go through and I compare the differences between iCloud and Dropbox and Google Photos, and why I think Google Photos is a really good solution for everybody as a backup and as an aggregator, photo search engine, really organizer, and then all of the cool things that it does with our memories to help remind us of some of the fun things that we've done and the great moments that we've had in our lives when we wouldn't normally take the time to look at it. So check that out at modernphotosolutions.com and click the big yellow button. All right, now I can close. Once we got the business out of the way. Thank you again, Sarah. I appreciate it.
Yes, thank you.
And we'll see you next time on Modern Photo Solutions.